Okay, good afternoon, members of council, members of our management team. We have 10 attendees that have logged on via electronic media. Just like to call this meeting to order. And it is February 6th. Got my glasses on here, 12:13 p.m. And I'll go into item number 2, land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the town of Stephenville as the ancestral homeland of different populations of Indigenous people. We also acknowledge with respect the rich histories and cultures of the Beothuk, the Mi'kmaq, the Innu, and the Inuit of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. A little bit of history, I guess, on if anybody here has been to Red Indian Lake. There's an outcrop on Red Indian Lake that the scouts of the Beothuk used to be on the lookout for the migration of the caribou coming off of the Star Lake high plateaus. And they would spot them. And then they would do their smoke fires to give warning to the Beothuk that were in their birch bark canoes that the caribou were coming. And that was part of their strategy. Foreign games. Anyways, item number 3, approval of the agenda. I would ask a member of council that we approve the agenda as circulated.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Darren Roberts, second by Councilor Myra White. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. I'd just like to also recognize that Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow was unable to make it due to a previous commitment. So we will note that in the minutes. Item number 4, approval of minutes. Number 1, be it resolved to approve our public meeting of council minutes dated January 23rd, 2025, as circulated by our town clerk. I would ask a member of council to move. Moved by Councilor Maurice Hines, second. Second, Councilor Darren Roberts. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And we have just been joined by Councilor Laura Aylward. Councilor Aylward, can you hear us?
We're online now?
Yes, we are.
Yes, I can hear you now. I have the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, we're into item number 4. We did have 5 seconds for approving all items up to this point. So we're at item number 4, 4.2. Be it resolved to approve special public meeting of council minutes dated January 31st, 2025. I would ask a member of council we move. Move Councilor Myra White, second her. Second, Councilor Tom O'Brien. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
This special meeting was to do some readjustment on some of the numbers regarding our municipal capital works in order for it to fit the department's criteria.
Yeah.
And we had a deadline we had to meet, so.
And they do change a lot of things from time to time. You have to do a little bit of corrections.
Yep.
Okay, for the approval of the minutes, are there any matters arising from 4.1 or 4.2? I hear no matters are being raised. Okay, proclamations and delegations. We did have a proclamation to for February, which is violence prevention, stand up against violence. We did have a really good turnout from the John Howard Society, CYN, and a good delegation here. That was on Tuesday. So as we well know, violence is not acceptable in any form. But there are people that are more prone to violence than others, and it has to be recognized. And that's why good citizens, good communities will stand up for those who need support.
And the pictures of that and the declaration we published on our website as well as other social media.
I seen that. Great job.
There's no excuse to violence, none whatsoever.
None. Okay, item number 7, we have a short agenda today. So I'm going to turn it over to our Chair of Finance, Councilor Myra White, 7.1.
Thank you, Mayor. 7.1 Finance Committee. Expense checks. Be it resolved to pay expense checks for the month of January 2025 in the amount of $373,740.48. I so moved.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Darren Roberts. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Item number 2, accounts payable. Be it resolved to approve accounts payable for February the 6th, 2025 in the amount of $392,644.06. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Darren Roberts. I just want to say that in one of those categories, it was one of the repayments on the contractor for Russell Heights. That's over $100,000 out of that 300. So that's a sizable amount. And January, February, March tends to be a heavy month for us with snow clearing and so forth. So all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 3, approval to host M&L Fall Regional Meeting. Be it resolved that the town of Stephenville hosts municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador Fall Regional Meetings in September 2025 with anticipated cost of $1,000. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Darren Roberts. I just want to say to M&L, for anybody listening in, municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, it's representatives from councils, regional councils from Western that will converge into Stephenville, stay at our hotels, maybe do some shopping on our main street and spend a little bit of money. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any late items? Okay, well, that's the all the items for today.
Okay. And I'm wondering, Councilor Aylward, if we could turn over the chair to Councilor Maurice Hines.
Sure,
For reading. Yeah,
Sure,
Okay.
go ahead. Yeah, Maurice.
Here, Laura. Okay, there's 7.2, Planning and Development Committee. Point 1, approval of streetlights. Be it resolved that the town install 7 streetlights commencing at Carolina Avenue onto Utah Drive. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Maurice Hines, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Myra White.
I think just comment, anyone who's familiar with that area know it's fairly dark. And one of the priorities of the town, of course, is safety and security. And by putting those lights in, it's going to make it a bit safer for driving and for security around the buildings.
Just wanted to point out also there are inquiries from other parties throughout town in areas which are deemed to be dark by pedestrians. And we're looking at each and every one of those to determine what the best path to follow is. In some cases, it might just be small fill-ins. There's also different designing of lights now that give a different cast to the ground below. In the past, there was a lot of light pollution. The types of lights they used to, I think they were nickel halide types, and they used to scatter the light all over. So now it's a very cast down type of light. And Light and Power has a number of different varieties that they use given the area and the idea of avoiding light pollution, but making sure it's lit well for pedestrians. So, we have a number of inquiries. We will address those in due course over the course of the next number of months.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay, is there anything late for planning?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. Okay, so we're moving right along. Item number 8, bylaws, regulations, and policies, nothing in place today. Sometimes, when we have nothing as the mayor and governance, and I'm pretty happy with that. Because in Newfoundland and Labrador, what a lot of people probably don't know, is that we have more legislation, policies than any province in this country. And we hear it often from businesses that when you got too much regulation, it slows your economy. So the Canadian Federation of Independent Business has deemed, I believe, Newfoundland, and I'm not sure what the ranking would be today, but at times we're a C- when it comes to red tape. And we've got some indications even from Government Service Center recently that a lot of work is done in the Stephenville area in region. And they're so understaffed that we got companies and businesses that are just slow and could miss a tourism season or could miss a prime retail season because the system is just too slow. So anything that government can do to increase and reduce red tape is a bonus. And that goes for our council too. We're just another level of government.
I find that amazing. We're talking about red tape. Because in Danny Williams' days, how many years ago was that? It was a mandate of that government to reduce red tape. And that was the man of all departments. And here we are talking 15 years later, still talking about red tape.
Maybe we can call it a different color
It's
tape.
unacceptable.
We might be getting all this purple tape.
He said it's best.
You know, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazes me.
Okay, any unfinished business? No. Okay, so for new business, I have one. Actually, I've got two, and then I'll open up the floor to any councilors. So the first one I wanted to mention is that the town of Stephenville and the Diamond Airport work together to maintain and clear runway for emergency flights. The Stephenville Diamond Airport has requested assistance from the town to clear the snow windroll on its runway due to the temporary failure of 2 snow blowers at the airport. This posed a potential safety risk, particularly for emergency landings such as air ambulance operations, which is critical for the region as they operate 24/7. Recognizing the importance of keeping the runway open for these critical services, town staff will provide the necessary equipment and support to ensure the runway remains clear and operational. The assistance will be provided on a cost recovery basis. So whatever costs for equipment and labor and fuel, we invoice to Diamond and they'll pay us with the expenses covered by the airport. The safety and functionality of the airport is our top priority. This collaboration ensures that emergency operations can continue without interruption, and our assistance will ensure this vital service for our community is maintained. Stephenville Diamond Airport has the necessary parts on order and hopes to have its equipment operational again in the coming weeks. So that's just as part of our openness and transparency as we move forward. As you well know, since 1998, the airport was privately held by a community group where we were putting in, say, $400,000 a year, at least. In the last 2 years, we haven't put any money into the airport. But the airport is not busy enough for us because we still have no commercial flights. So we hope for the best in 2025. Keep our fingers crossed. Any comments or?
Just, Mr. Mayor, we did discuss the situation, and we looked at it in terms of our citizens and in terms of the traveling public. There's a NOTAM, notice to pilots that go out, notifying them that they could not land in Stephenville Airport. So that would go out to air ambulance and to any flight that was in an emergency. And we all know that in an emergency, if you can land somewhere safely, you're going to save lives. And we also knew, we talked about cost recovery. So it's important that the citizens know that it was not taken lightly, and we did it in the best interest of the community and the traveling public.
The equipment you're talking about, not every contractor got these big snow blowers. And basically, it's not clear the whole runway.
No.
But when the maintenance crew clears the runway, there's wing rows. Same thing as the wing rows when you go downtown, except at the airport, they're bigger. For low wing aircraft, the wing rows have to be dealt with. If not, the wings are in jeopardy. So you mean this is something that's happened quite often in the past over the years when the airport corporation was running the airport. And there's been times on the flip side of this, there's been times that we've had problems with our equipment, and we've depended on the airport to supply us with equipment to open up some of our more narrow streets. So I mean, this is to two organizations working in partnership for the good of the community. And the big difference here this time around is cost recovery.
Yeah.
Any time before this, you mean it was under taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah.
That has changed. So you mean it's I had a number of calls and I asked people, I said, what would you have us to do? Nothing. And then the next call comes as your ambulance call. So I mean, could be anybody. You mean it could be you yourself.
Yeah.
So I mean, anything we can do to assist to keep the airport open, especially for your ambulance, I think we're doing the responsible thing, and it's not costing us anything because it's cost recovery. So,
And you know, this airport, actually, there's a famous novel. It's called Faith is the Hunter.
Yes.
And it was written by Ernest Gann, Gann. And there's a chapter 16 is called Whole. And it's written by the aviation author. And it was recognized that over the 25 years at the U.S. Air Force Base and the airport operated, that if it wasn't for Stephenville Airport, because whenever big low pressure systems would come in, most major airports around the northeastern seaboard, Atlantic Canada, were contaminated with freezing rain, fog, and the only bare and dry 10,000-foot runway was in Stephenville. And because of the weather anomaly, there was a hole that we would be in the center of the low pressure system. We were like in the vortex. And it is said in that chapter that if it wasn't for Stephenville Airport over all those years, they estimated there would have been an additional 25 or 26 commercial air crashes.
That hole is called the Anticosta Island shadow effect. Storms come down, hit Anticosta Island, split, and the shadow of Anticosta Island sets over Stephenville. So how's that for our information today?
Very good.
you can rest assured when the U.S. military decided to build a base where we're located, they had a lot of research and a lot of data and stuff go into weather patterns and all that stuff. So the Anticosta
Island shadow effect.
the element, I'm sure, would have been worked into it way back then.
Oh, big time. The other one I wanted to mention is that very proud week, I guess, for Stephenville in reference to curling prowess. We have two champions from our Caribou Curling Club here in Stephenville, Ryan and Sarah Lambswood, their parents, Dr. Scott Lambswood and Sherry Lambswood. And they are now provincial champions and going to the Briar. I believe it's the Montana recognized sponsorship on that Briar, but to look that we have this small curling rink, and it is small compared to some places, but to have champions, provincial champions, and to have two siblings, a brother and a sister, to win on the same day, you know, within, I think, 45 minutes of each other. And now be going to represent Newfoundland as champions. So a very proud moment, and I'd like to wish them the best. Obviously, they're very good. And but we need to be behind them as a community, and it's a very proud week for Stephenville.
On the curling club, just an update that we have received one of the pieces of equipment that the town is supporting the curling club with. Renewal of the plant there. The other piece is due in April, I think it is, Matt. And then we'll get it all installed. And even though the delay, it was beyond the equipment in the club really couldn't be repaired anymore, so it had to be replaced. So as noted in previous meetings, the town has proceeded with support for the curling club and is getting to a point where eventually the club will be in the town's hands as one of our facilities, which we will then do cost recovery on their operations as they operate through the year. They've had very good success in keeping, you know, their operations going and being able to maintain their operations despite difficulties with equipment in the past.
Sometimes when you got old equipment, there's only so much duct tape
That's right.
that it can, you know.
And there's only so many museums around that hold on to that. Just, I guess, another nice point, the Royal Canadian Legion hosted the accessibility, I guess, conference about a year ago, I guess, Candace. And we made application to the federal government under the New Horizons for Seniors. And we received a notification that we will have a check coming to us for $24,000 to enhance the accessibility to the Royal Canadian Legion.
Excellent.
Great job.
The other one I want to mention too, a little step up for Atlas Salt receiving a COLA and federal funding yesterday. I believe the announcement was yesterday. Atlas Salt is a major project. That salt product is 96% pure, allowing the return on the investment for the capital going into it a little bit better. It doesn't, you know, and it's designed for road salt. It's got adjacency of transshipment from Turf Point, which is one of the greatest natural harbors in the world, deep water in St. George's, adjacent to the great town of St. George's, so really good for them. But anytime a project like Atlas Salt or Phoenix on the peninsula, anything that happens in the southwest corner of Newfoundland benefits this town. We're a regional center with training facilities, educational facilities, hospital services, port facilities, airport. So the more that starts to happen, that will really benefit us economically. And I got to say, it's great news. I'm hoping for more announcements to come from World Energy and others, but it's going to be nice to see shovels in the ground in St. George's. Okay, anything else for new business?
Just one, which you might want to note, Mayor, as you were in attendance, was the Joint Council meeting this past weekend. Just that there were Stevenville Crossing, Portabask, and themselves. Others were not in attendance, but we're hoping that the next meeting we have, there will be a lot more involvement from outlying communities, and we will support them with a video link. Portabask is going to be the host of the next one sometime in May, and well attended. It's obviously something that we can use as an additional voice for the communities in the Southwest Coast, and so it was good in getting those insights from various parties.
I mean, the Joint Council worked very, very well when they existed back a number of years ago, and it was very well attended each time. The meetings were moved around to different communities out in Islandward to be, instead of everybody had to travel to the same location all the time. I mean, it was during that period that because there was a policy or regulation, whatever you want to call it, in place where you had to be a council in order to be a member of the Southwest Coast Joint Council. We changed that at the time. Local service districts were also allowed to join as members, which I mean, and that was done under the belief and the reality of the fact that there's strength in numbers. When you have Stephenville trying to lobby the provincial government or the federal government for something, you got Stephenville, you got 68, 69, 107,000 people. Well, I mean, you start adding numbers to that. You get a little bit of a bigger bang for your buck, so to speak. So we allowed the local service districts to join, which and a lot of them did. So it goes back to the old saying, there's strength in numbers. So all of a sudden, instead of Stephenville, 7,000 people were lobbying another level of government for something, all of a sudden now you got 15,000 or 20,000. Or 20,000 plus lobbying for the same thing. It brings more attention to the issue at hand.
Yeah, and we had a really good meeting. And you mentioned Utah and all the municipalities and LSDs. You're talking, 35,000 people, and maybe upwards to 20 community leaders. And we come together and we prioritize the needs of the region. So I know once COVID came, it kind of went away and they couldn't meet for a while, and now it's being revived, and the timing is good because I know one big file they had worked on was looking at upgrading the road from the TCH going through Buckins down through Bergia, which is right now just a gravel road. And we come together with all the industries that potentially will be starting up in Stephenville, the region, from Port aux Basques to Cape St. George and the region. That would actually allow us to maybe champion it as a sector to say, this is good for Newfoundland and Labrador. So if you look at this province, finished to drive in 65 was when we completed the Trans-Canada Highway. A long time ago, 1965. Since then, they might have put in a little bit of double highway, a couple of new routes on the Avalon. But we lost a railroad in 1988. We have not seen a significant road network upgrade in the province. We've seen it in Labrador with the Trans-Labrador Highway. But maybe it's time for the Southwest Council. And actually, I mentioned to the chair, Councillor Peter Fenwick, that I'd like to have it on the agenda, that we would now start lobbying the provincial government transportation to look at the engineering, design, planning to upgrade that road. Because as a background tractor trailer driver, Councillor O'Brien, and business owner, the amount of savings that it would mean coming through Port aux Basques to go through the Buckins Road, to hit St. John's, the savings on carbon output alone would be enormous. So let's hope that the committee will come together and see it as a priority today like it was 3 or 4 years ago. And let's get into St. John's and let's see if we can get some action.
It was certainly meet the criteria for going green.
Certainly would, yeah. Okay. On that note, everybody good?
Ready to go, Tom?
I'm looking for
Have a
somebody
shine.
to adjourn this public meeting.
Don't move.
Moved by Councillor Tom O'Brien. Second, Councillor Laura Elbert via Zoom.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want to thank the 10 attendees for logging on to one of the greatest towns in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, town of Stephenville.
So we're going to move into a